I'm not gonna lie, this is probably one of my favorite moments this season of Shield Hero. Just to have this man be like, just talking so much mad shit. He's barely known these three stooges, and he already recognized how useless they were, but there was a way to use them for something to actually be useful. The amount of shade that was thrown, it almost felt like the anime community collectively writing a scene to punish them and to just expose how useful they are, which is basically they can be a battery to a big-ass laser, but that's about it. Very solid end to this arc, I have to admit. I mean, if you go back throughout my reviews, I'm pretty consistent in my thoughts up until last video, right? Because I think episodes 4 and 5 really dragged, and they just, it's that final boss. It keeps having more forms, and you just grow bored. But I thought it started good, and I think it ended good. And given that the author was even admitting that this is the weakest arc of the series, there was regrets there. I've heard good things about the next arc that's about to come out. Honestly, I think we're getting back into the swing of things with Shield Hero. And honestly, I was talking with some people in the comments, as I do, and there was quite a few people who brought up the kind of idea of this should have been a movie rather than part of Season 2. Because if Season 2 would have just been the good arcs going forward, like what's coming next, and the movie just kind of condensed, maybe trimmed out even more fat than they already did. I know some people are like, oh, if they would have left in more, it would have been better. Personally, the only thing that I've heard about the source is that, this girl, Os, right? The idea that she just continued to tag along and have these memories. Apparently in the source, she just pops up at the end again. Like, they don't have her tagging along, so it's not as annoying. That would have been so much better if, instead of just continuing to have her be like, I wonder what's gonna happen. Instead, they had to discover it on their own, and then they realized. That would have been way better. No idea why the anime changed it the way they did, but hey, leave it to production committees, right? But I will say, this episode was fun as shit. There's a lot of action, there was a lot of funny moments, hell, there were some badass moments. The biggest surprise for me was Risha. I mean, I wasn't expecting her to stand her ground. I mean, they've been definitely hinting at the fact that she has a lot of potential, she has a lot of skill. I mean, that old woman definitely was talking about how, she's definitely mastered this kind of, one ability, and that would be very impressive. We see that. When they're all down for the count with this gravity magic, she actually gets up and she wipes the floor with this guy. I was not expecting that whatsoever, because I know, it's seemingly based on the response last week, they all hated this book vassal, the idea that he was so smug. And I mean, you're supposed to hate him, right? He's the antagonist. But I mean, he is an entertaining antagonist. He's an asshole. And the fact that he's just that much of an asshole, and then to have someone who's been kind of cowering behind this costume for so long, which it's pretty annoying, honestly, right? Because does she still need to cower? Does she still need to do this? And then to have it obliterated off of her, and for her to kick ass and take names and just expose this fool. I thought that was a pretty badass moment and almost redeemed some of the more annoying aspects about her character in this season. And really, the fact that she decided to go with Naofumi rather than sticking with the person she's been putting on this pedestal who abandoned her and treated her like absolute dog shit. No, I'm gonna go with my party because I'm a part of this team. I was really hoping they weren't gonna just keep Naofumi there, because if they can invade his world, goddamn, we gotta have an ability that lets him invade. And I'm glad that she did give him that ability. I was actually kind of surprised that they're seemingly setting up the fact that she is fully dead, but they did leave in the clue, which I'm not surprised about, the fact that if I can be reborn again, I want to be a part of their crew. I mean, she's coming back in some way, shape, or form. It just feels likely in my opinion, but if this form is gone, that is something that I was expecting them to reverse. When she was giving the shield, the Tortoise shield to Naofumi, what I thought was going to happen was, she would be the familiar, when he uses the shield, maybe she can, be summoned or something. Instead, they seemingly went a different direction, which honestly I wasn't expecting. But I mean, this was an action-packed episode, and I honestly wasn't expecting the Queen to pop up in her giant KFC form, but honestly, that was probably the only way, because if cutting the head wasn't enough, destroying the heart probably wouldn't be enough, so you have to do them both at the same time. And the fact that she was kicking ass and taking names, I mean, she literally defended the entire army while also kicking ass. That was pretty badass, I'm not gonna lie. And I love the fact that, the key to this fight actually was just to bring KFC to a tortoise fight. Who would have thought, right? You just needed some KFC to take out the heart, some KFC to take out the head, and we would have been A-okay from the beginning. But it is, you can understand the path, right? Because you cut off the head, you think that should be enough. Okay, if that didn't work, let's destroy the heart. And then you realize you gotta do both at the same time, and then there's this other bastard who's just screwing around. So the path to get to this moment makes sense. It's just, there definitely should have been more speed up, in my opinion, and a little less fluff, and truthfully, a movie format would have done it a lot better. I think, people wouldn't have talked as much shit as they did on the production, which I still defend the production on that note. Like, I honestly think for what they were able to accomplish with those wider shots, I mean, it was really good. This episode was definitely the best looking tortoise fight, without a doubt. It was, just completely hand-drawn. I mean, makes sense given the fact that if you're going to have Fitoria, right? She's going to be hand-drawn. She's never been 3D CG, right? So it makes sense, but it did look very nice, especially with the lasers and everything like that. But it was just an overall, it ended on a bang for me. And that's what I want to see, because I love Shield Hero. I mean, anytime you talk negatively about anything, or, you're not completely positive, people think, oh, he hates it, or, they hate it, whatever. But no, it's you can have your issues with things and still appreciate it. And knowing the fact that the author, source readers, they all say, this is the worst arc. At the very least, it's a majority opinion. Of course, some people will consider this their best because everyone has their opinions, right? But the idea that a majority and the author themselves say, this is the worst arc and it gets better after this, I mean, I have no worries because I love season 1 all the way from the start to the end. And I mean, I had a lot of moments and parts to the episodes within these 6 that I did like. I saw some people say that they thought this arc was going to last another 2 episodes, and honestly, I thought they were crazy. I was willing to believe it because this arc has dragged at points, so I wasn't going to put it past the production committee to extend it, but the reason I really wasn't buying into that is I've heard so many source readers say they cut out a bunch of shit to get this over sooner rather than later. So it wouldn't make sense to then drag it out at the end when seemingly we're at the final objective of the tortoise, right? So I'm glad it took only 6 episodes, but truthfully, that would have been fine if we had 4 episodes worth of content, cut out most of episodes 4 and 5, and just refined it into a movie format. But that's just me anyway. It had its highs, it had its lows, but ultimately, it was a fine arc. It wasn't the worst arc I've ever seen. I think that's an exaggeration that the internet loves to go over. There's been far worse anime over the past couple of years that have done far worse than what these 6 episodes did. It was fun, it had some flash, wasn't the most best visual spectacle in terms of locations, because we're mostly in almost like the Grand Canyon, right? So compared to some of the other fight scenes and locations, of course it's not going to rank up in the best, but there was some cool moments for sure. And I think the moment with Naofumi not being able to use rage for really the first time here, and that was the key to unlocking that shield, I thought was a great character moment for a guy who was so rage-filled and vengeful and hateful. To have him in that moment not be able to be that for once, even though it was the most important time to be that. I love the fact that it gave him a reward and showed him he doesn't have to keep using that shield. So I really did like that moment overall. But yeah, I mean, I leave this arc on a high note, and it's better to leave an arc on a high note rather than a low note like I would consider the past couple of episodes. But still, this was an arc. It wasn't the best. It wasn't the worst. It was just kind of like the author probably made a mistake here. At least for me, seemingly they agree with that based on what I've read online. But ultimately, seems like we're going to have the next 7 episodes be adapting a quality arc. Going into a different world is an exciting turn of events, so I'm pretty excited. But of course, let me know your thoughts on this episode. I'm sure there will be many people who still hated this episode. They said it was a pointless arc. There will probably be people who agree with me that it was actually ending on a high note. Whatever you're feeling, though, let me know down below, and how excited are you to start the next arc that has been actually hyped up, unlike this one. Let me know down below, leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. Until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.